Donald Trump wants you to believe that he is the deal maker in chief, that he is a peacemaker, that Donald Trump gets things done. And of course, he is using the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas to make that case for himself. But Donald Trump had nothing to do with it. This is a man whose own staff wouldn't let him meet one-on-one with Putin because they see the pudding dripping out of his ears. And Donald Trump showed us how little he had to do with this ceasefire agreement when he gave a speech in Israel today that was so bad that it was not only protested, but Fox had to cut the feed after it abruptly stopped. We're going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into so many disastrous moments in this speech, I want to start with what happened right before. Donald Trump on Air Force One talking about how, well, the only truth he's ever said.
Go ahead. You had talked a couple weeks ago, you were doing an interview, and you talked about how you hope to end the war in Ukraine because it might help you get into heaven. How does this help? Does this help?
I mean, I'm being a little cute. I don't think there's anything going to get me in heaven. Okay, I really don't. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. I may be in heaven right now as we fly in Air Force One. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make heaven, but I
don't want to give Donald any credit here, but you're kind of bang on with that one. Yeah, I don't think the pearly gates will be opening to you, and I'm glad that you understand that at this point. I also don't think the Nobel Peace Prize is coming next year, but that's okay, Donald. We know you're a big loser, and nobody really wants to spend time with you, certainly not for eternity. But the speech that Donald Trump delivered today, again, solidifies the point that I've been trying to make, that Donald Trump, as much as he will claim that this deal is all his doing, it's just not the case. And especially when Trump says that he's doing it because he's after peace, and then says this about war.
But it also means this name change and our attitude that we're not going to go into a war. But if we do, we're going to win that war like nobody has ever won a war before. We will not be politically correct, but we're not going to be there. And I think, as you mentioned, Bibi, before, peace through strength. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, Donald, we know that you don't like peace, and also it's no surprise that Donald Trump, talking to Israeli government officials, says that he doesn't believe in politically correct war after we've seen a genocide committed for 2 years. But this was kind of the tone and the tenor of Donald Trump's speech. Again, you would think the guy who claims to be about peace would be talking about a lasting peace instead of how great he thinks he is and how he was robbed of the Nobel Peace Prize and how, I don't know, he wants to get even more violent. But no, none of this stopped Donald Trump from attacking and attacking and attacking. Now it was Joe Biden and Barack Obama, and it's part of the reason that we'll see that a little protest erupted.
All to, is this right, Jared? Join up in the Abraham Accords. We have to join up and get together. You can have that whole thing filled out. We had a very weak administration, worst president in the history of our country by far. And Barack Obama was not far behind, by the way. And they did nothing with this incredible document, the Abraham Accords, but now you can fill them up. Now you have peace, you have people that really like Israel. I'll tell you what, and they like Israel a lot more today than they did even 5 weeks ago.
He just can't stop making it about himself, can he? It's all he ever knows to do, which is talk about Donald and how everybody loves him and he's such a great guy, but clearly everybody doesn't love Donald Trump because in the middle of his speech, protest erupted. Donald Trump was shouted out and shouted down, and this protester who forced Trump to shut up, and thank God for that, was dragged out of the room. Take a look.
Somehow can relate to him. I've known him for many years, and I've seen it over and over again.
להוציא את חבר הכנסת עודה, להוציא אותו מהאולם, להוציא אותו מיד, החוצה, החוצה.
Please expel this Knesset member.
להוציא גם את חבר הכנסת כסיף. להוציא את חבר הכנסת כסיף מהאולם.
Good. Donald Trump should be protested. This Netanyahu regime should be protested. But apparently not to Donald Trump, who, again, doesn't care about peace or the rules of international conflict. No, Donald Trump just cares who's nice to Donald Trump, which is why the guy who's been saying he deserves a peace prize the most, Bibi Netanyahu, got this gift from Donald Trump.
Hey, I have an idea. Mr. President, why don't you give him a pardon? Give him a pardon. Come on.
Netanyahu is a war criminal. He is a criminal within the state of Israel. He is much like Donald Trump, clinging to power to prevent accountability. And fuck both of them. Like, obviously, fuck Trump, but fuck Netanyahu, and fuck Trump for saying that Netanyahu deserves a pardon. That is disgusting. Again, there has been no attention paid, no reconciling with the genocide that has been committed for 2 years for the suffering of the Palestinian people. Donald Trump has talked about Gaza not even for a second, and less to mention that he's going to put a hotel there and a gold statue of himself. And that is kind of how the rest of this speech went, which is why, instead of playing it for their audience, Fox cut to Scott Bessent talking about No King's Day.
If in fact they are waiting for this No Kings protest, no kings means no paychecks and no government. And Maria, I think the dirty secret here for why this has dragged on for so long is the Democratic friends in the mainstream media have been downplaying this shutdown. And this is getting serious. It's starting to affect the real economy. It's starting to affect people's lives.
Donald Trump has so clearly put his cabinet members on to these talking points of go after the mass protest that will absolutely humiliate me. But of course they are. They don't want us to have joy. They don't want us to have community. That's what largely they are trying to do with every attack on our government, every attack on our day-to-day mental health. They do not want us to feel joy or feel like we have the ability to fight back. Donald Trump wants this air of inevitability around him, that there is nothing that we can do to win. There's nothing that we can do to beat down his authoritarian movement, but that's just not true. We can turn out. We can put pressure on this administration, and we can, at least for one day, make Donald Trump fucking furious. And isn't that worth it? Aside from how great it will be to be in community, to be with other people who are fighting back against this authoritarian takeover. I'm excited to see some signs. I'm excited to see y'all. I will be out there in DC. If you see me, I'm 6'6", so it might be easy to find me. Come up and say hello. I'd love for us all to just be together on a day in which we fight and feel that community that is so important, feels so lacking. But I want you to have all the details. I want you to get excited about it. And someone who broke down all those details was Jen Psaki right here.
Now, in our American democracy, you're allowed to do things like that. You have a right to speak out against your elected officials and your government, even yell at them. And as this administration continues to do wildly unpopular things like deploying American troops into American cities and harassing and abusing communities by sending in masked, militarized federal agents to round up undocumented immigrants, a lot of people are engaging in their rights of free speech and free assembly to oppose what they see as wrong. But as more people demonstrate against Trump and what he is doing, his administration has gone to new extremes by brazenly labeling demonstrators as paid agitators and even terrorists. I mean, take a listen to some of what was said at a White House roundtable earlier this week about protesters in Portland.
We have a very serious left-wing terror threat in our country, radicals associated with the domestic terror group Antifa. We're going to be looking very strongly at the people that are funding these operations. When you see the signs, and they're all made out of a beautiful paper, beautiful, nice, stiff, very expensive paper with beautiful wood handles, all the same color. They come from very expensive printing machines. These are not people that write out their signs in a basement that believe in something. These are paid anarchists.
Just like we did with cartels, we're going to take the same approach, President Trump, with Antifa.
This network of Antifa is just as sophisticated as MS-13, as TDA, as ISIS, as Hezbollah, as Hamas, as all of them. They are just as dangerous. They have an agenda to destroy us, just like the other terrorists we've dealt with for many, many years.
ISIS. I mean, okay. Now, despite the Trump White House declaring Antifa a domestic terrorist organization, there's no actual evidence that it is an organization, meaning there's no official membership or structure at all. Instead, this sort of language has become a tool for the administration, allowing it to label the opposition as anti-American or even terrorists. And today it became clear that this is no longer just the ramblings of Donald Trump and the people closest to him. It is apparently just the new party line.
October 18th is when the protest gets here. This will be a Soros paid-for protest where his professional protesters show up, the agitators show up. We'll have to get the National Guard out. Hopefully it'll be peaceful. I doubt it.
This is about one thing and one thing only: to score political points with the terrorist wing of their party, which is set to hold, as Leader Scalise just commented on, a Hate America rally in D.C. next week.
This Hate America rally that they have coming up for October 18th, the Antifa crowd and the pro-Hamas crowd and the Marxists, they're all going to gather on the mall.
The October 18th protests they are referring to are the No Kings protests. Funny how they left the name out of that one. You may remember there were also No Kings protests across the country this past June when millions of people in cities and towns across the country showed up to speak out against Trump and this administration. Faced with another round of those massive protests, Trump and his allies are arguing that if you engage in your uniquely American right to protest, then you are un-American. If you speak out against Trump, then you hate America. Now that is un-American. But the fact that those on the right are desperately trying to delegitimize protesters is a sign of how afraid they are of what Americans have to say. On October 18th, nearly 2,500 No Kings protests are scheduled to take place across the country. That means that potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, will take to the streets to protest the Trump administration. And like they did back in June during the first No Kings rally, when at least 4 million people, more than that, were out in full force. And since then, there's been a near constant stream of protests against everything from Trump's heartless immigration raids to Republican plans to cut health care for millions of Americans. And instead of, listening to them, Trump and Republicans are now trying to demonize these protesters by saying the upcoming No Kings protest is a hate America rally that will promote terrorism, which is an absolutely insane thing to say. These rallygoers are doing one of the most American things possible, utilizing their right to peacefully protest. I mean, if it's anything like the last No Kings protest, it will probably look a whole lot like this scene from Memphis.
If you weren't at the first No Kings protest, don't make that mistake again. If you can make it, you should make it. If you can't, I promise I'll be making lots of videos about it so you can feel like you're there. But if you are able, go out, be with friends, be with family, introduce yourself to someone. Like, this is what's so incredible about these online communities that we've been able to build, how we've brought people together. So go out there in the same way that you might respond to someone's comment or like someone's tweet or, reshare an Instagram post. Go out, go up to someone, say hi, make a friend in fucking fighting these fascists back. We desperately need it right now. We're going to be doing it on this show. If you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to check out some of the videos I was making yesterday with my good friends at the Bulwark, take a look right there. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.